We want to get the latest on the school situation in Fairfield. We are going to go right now to a live news conference where the police chief is speaking.
The 17 schools we have in town, in addition to that, some of the private schools, to make sure that they were secure. Second to that now is making for an orderly release from those schools. That is what we are in the process of doing now, and that response takes a lot of time. Again, we are encouraging parents to wait home for their students so that they can do that orderly response. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Title. I'll stop back up to the mic in a minute. Turn it over to Dr. Title, Superintendent of Schools.
So we began our early dismissal process at approximately 11:45 this morning, and while it has taken longer than normal to do the dismissals, they are going well. Obviously, we've had a number of parents, more than normal number of parents, come to schools during the early dismissal procedure, and so we are working our way through that with police assistance at each school. Parents who have come to the schools during the early dismissal to pick up their children are being allowed to take their children, and but there have been more than a normal number of that, and so there has been some congestion at the schools during the dismissal time. We would ask parents of students who have not yet been dismissed on the early dismissal schedule, particularly at the elementary level, if possible, to just wait home and allow us to get the buses to take your children. Many of our elementary schools have very limited space, parking, and roadways to handle an overflow of parents. So we would ask parents to stay home and let us bring the children to you. That's the best you can do. And I would also like to thank parents. All the reports from the field have been that parents have been very cooperative and understanding with our response to this. And I'd like to thank the police for helping out with everything. We do expect to have everything, all activities related to schools, commence as usual on Saturday morning for sporting events. But this afternoon and this evening's sporting events have been postponed. We expect to have normal athletic events go on as scheduled tomorrow. Thank you.
I just want to take a minute and recognize our police and fire for how they've responded to this, followed our plan, followed our protocol. I also want to thank our neighboring towns and the state for their offer of mutual aid and how smoothly that has gone in terms of getting additional resources down here, so that as the chief mentioned this morning, we have planned for events like this. We certainly don't want them to happen, but we want to be prepared when they do. And I think that we're all proud of how police, fire, and our Board of Ed have worked together to make sure this operation has gone as smoothly as possible, and everybody's been kept secure, our students, our teachers, our schools at each step of the way. Thank you.
You know, before I open it up to questions, I just want to point one other thing out and a message to our parents. Obviously, we recognize, and Dr. Title pointed it out, that this is a very uneasy feeling that parents have. We also recognize that tonight, you know, those conversations are going to have to be had with students who are aware of lockdown procedures and how scary it is. Certainly, I know the school and I know that the police and fire are aware of that, but I think it's important to point out that parents have to have those conversations with their kids tonight to make sure that they understand that they were secure at all times. And this is just a process we go through, unfortunately, when we have individuals that attempt to disrupt the flow of what we do in town. We unfortunately have to go through this to make sure that they're secure. So we understand that and we recognize that for parents. This is a trying time. And again, just a big thank you to the parents for their understanding that we have the best intentions for their children at hand. It sometimes just takes a while for us to get that going. And I will open it up for questions if there are any.
What happened on Monday when school resumed? I mean, do you just go back to normal, or is there like assembly where we talk to the students, teachers have conversations with their classes?
Right, so at the present time, we're going to open school, normal, regular school on Monday. We'll do some thinking this afternoon as an administrative team to determine if we need to make any changes, if we need to make any further communication with students, get messages out, or have additional support systems available for students. We haven't been able to make a determination about that, but we'll be talking about that later this afternoon.
Chief, have you received any assistance from the FBI or federal law enforcement with this legal investigation?
You know, we work jointly in this state of Connecticut, which is quite a small state, with our federal partners as well as state. And yeah, we do have the resources of the FBI assisting us with many leads that we already have with regards to these phone calls. So we certainly have their assistance, and we would expect, and we know we have that.
How certain are you that the first call to that fake address is linked to these other threats at the schools?
You know, we base our investigations on timing and consistency of messaging, and clearly that first call is consistent with other calls we have received at the schools. So one can only make that leap to say that they are in all likelihood connected. I'm not saying they're definitely connected, but given the timing, the circumstances, the messaging, the only thing that's different really is the location. So we can assume at this point that they in all likelihood are connected, but we're not leaving out the possibility that that was just another random call.
The calls to the school, do you believe it's the same person, the schools?
Again, you know, we're investigating the details to link them, positively link them, but given the timing, the message, the intent to disrupt, I would kind of assume at this point that they are at least linked, and if they're not linked, they were designed to cause a mass disruption of this magnitude at all of our schools.
And resources-wise, to have to deal with this, I know you called in a lot of departments, but you have to treat all of them as serious, and it just puts a lot of burden on you guys.
We don't have the luxury at the time of response to decipher fact from fiction. When we receive information, we respond as if it were to be true until facts and circumstances will dictate that it's not true. And that's what you saw today, and we continue to have our footprint out there today into the evening hours. Our resources will be there as we trickle down and lower our footprint in response to this. But, you know, unfortunately or fortunately, we don't decipher fact from fiction when it comes to these.
Is it frustrating?
It's you know, individuals that cause this kind of disruption and this long-term disruption is really frustrating. I mean, the long-term impact that this community will suffer as a result of this fear is significant to us. And yeah, there's a level of frustration. What's not frustrating is to see fire and police and school personnel, the town administrators, and the community at large working together to ensure our schools are secure. That's not frustrating, that's very proud. This town should be very proud of its emergency services, that they work so well together to take this action. But frustrating, yeah, it is frustrating, but you know, it's the nature of our business that we have individuals that look to disrupt communities.
How difficult do you think it's going to be to try to track down who's responsible?
I can't say. I don't know. I mean, you know, like we're going to work very hard to determine who did this and make sure that they're accountable for it.
Superintendent, we've heard all day from you and the chief about preparedness. Are the protocols, procedures the schools went through any different today on what happened a couple years back with Sandy Hook? Did that change your approach to prepare for these types of threats?
Yeah, we're much better prepared now than we would have been three years ago. Since Sandy Hook, the school system, as many school systems have been around the country, actively preparing for these kinds of events with the assistance of police and fire. Our lockdown procedures are much more carefully done. Kids and faculty are used to this, and we're in a much better position than we were 3 years ago